Okay, here we're going to talk a little bit about understanding formulas. And a formula is an equation in a worksheet. So essentially, it is a math problem, a math equation. And in Excel, all formulas start with an equal sign. So what we're going to do is we are going to take this very simplistic spreadsheet that calculates payroll for a company, and we're going to create some formulas to help calculate how much money was spent on payroll. So we're going to start here in cell E5, and what we're going to do is we're going to put in an equal sign because, as I said earlier, all formulas start with an equal sign. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the number of regular hours, which is here in cell B5, and we're going to click on B5. Now we could also type in B5, and then we're going to put in an asterisk, which is the Excel version of an X, which is used for a multiplication symbol, as you've probably learned in math, or even as a dot, as you may have learned in your math classes. But here it's an asterisk, and we're going to multiply that times the hourly rate, which for Peter Bruegel, that is in cell D5. So basically it's equals B5 times D5, and if you hit enter, we'll get a total of 660. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in another formula that calculates overtime pay. Now, this formula is going to be a little bit different. So we are going to come over here in cell F5, and we're going to type in an equal sign, because again, all formulas start with equal. Now here what we want to do is we want to take the number of overtime hours that are worked, and we want to multiply that. So we got to put in times, and then we want to click on hourly rate, and we also want to hit times again, because when you are an hourly worker and you work overtime hours, you typically get paid at a premium rate. Now, what we're going to do here is we are going to assume that basically you get paid 200% or double time, whatever your normal rate is. Now, technically, we should put this D5 inside of parentheses. And by the way, PEMDAS counts here too, just like it does in math class. And technically what we're doing is on these 4 hours of overtime, we're going to take the 16.5, which is $16.50, and we're going to multiply it times 200%, which is up here in cell G2. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to put in the closing or the right parenthesis, and then I'm going to hit enter. And then when I do that, you're going to get a total of 132. So the next thing that I wanted to show you how to do is how to copy these formulas down that we just put in. And what we're going to do is going to come over here and click on this cell. And I actually am on this one, we're going to do it correctly, but on this next one, I'm going to show you the incorrect way, which we've already done this incorrectly. But what we're going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I want to click and drag on this fill handle. This little square right here in the lower right corner, that's a fill handle, and I just want to drag it down through here. And what it's going to do, it's going to copy all of these formulas over. And so here, notice how this says B6 times D6. If I double click this cell, you see that the two cells that comprise this formula are highlighted. Now I want to hit escape and do the same thing down here at the bottom. And again, you see the same thing, what happens when you use the fill handle to drag down a formula. Now, I want to show you what happens here, and again, we've already done this incorrectly, and I wanted you to see this. I did it incorrectly on purpose, but I'm going to drag this same fill handle down with my solid black crosshair here. And notice how on these, not only do I get zeros on these, but on this one right here, I get an error message of a value. And what that means is if I double click this cell right here, you see that obviously this formula is correct in that it's the number of overtime hours and times the hourly rate. And again, we've got this inside of parentheses, and we multiply this times G2, which is this cell right here, 200%. So that is correct. But I want to hit the escape key. Look what happens when I double click the cell directly below it. Now this time you get the number of overtime hours, which is nothing, which you know from math class that any number multiplied times 0 is equal to 0. So we really don't need to go any further. But look at the cell right here, is that this empty cell right here is part of the formula, and it's not supposed to be. And because you've put it in as a math equation, if you will, there should be something in here. Well, there's nothing in here, so it's multiplied times 0, which again, that's why we have a 0 right here. But look what happens right here when I double click this cell. Notice how this cell actually has text in it. So you can't multiply 2 times 13 times the words gross pay. When I hit the escape key again, that's why I get this value error message letting me know that we have a cell in the formula that does not contain a value. And then again, on all these others, we have 0. So what we're going to have to do to fix this is we're going to come back to this formula, and we want to click in front of the G2. And what we're going to have to do is there's a couple different ways you can do this. Now, if you're doing this on the desktop version, you can hit the function 4 key. That's at the very top of your keyboard. And I just did it here in the online version, and it automatically typed in what's called an absolute reference. And an absolute reference is used when you want to copy a formula down or across, and you want to always reference one particular cell as you copy it down. So as we copy this formula down, we want to always look in the contents of cell G2. So now you can manually type in the $ in front of G and the $ in front of 2, but we want to just hit the function 4 key, the F4 key, and it'll automatically put that in. And now I'm going to hit enter, and on this cell nothing changes with my answer, with my value. But now when I drag this fill handle down, look what happens. Now these are always referencing cell G2. I can come down here and double click on this cell, and you see how it's 8 times 16 times 200%. So that's why this particular formula works. And the reason why you would set up a spreadsheet like this is, for example, let's say what would happen if the overtime pay rate was at 200%, it was only 150%, or time and a half, if you will. What you could do is just come up here and type in 150, and then if you hit enter, notice how these numbers right here automatically change. And so they automatically change, and you get to determine what would happen if, and what if, using Excel spreadsheets to determine what would happen if a value changed, or one of the individual pieces of the equation changed. It allows you to see what would happen if. So you can change any of these cells that's got numbers in them, and it would allow you to see what would happen if. So I'm going to come back to that cell. I want to type in 200 again, and I want to hit enter. And also, I should have mentioned earlier, when we were doing these formulas with multiplication, if the asterisk key is on the keyboard, it's on the number 8 key, the top row of your keyboard, but also your plus, minus keys, and your division keys. Your division keys are a slash, and the plus and minus are exactly what you would expect them to be.